Sixth grade, welcome back to science and trying to be able to predict what kind of eye color we might have. We'll start with yesterday's review. We got 4 words pounded into our head. Dominant, capital letter, it's going to show up. Recessive, lowercase letter, it's going to be hidden. Purebred, both the letters are the same, either 2 capitals or 2 lowercase. And then hybrid means one of each. I have a capital letter and I have a lowercase letter. The capital letter will show up. When we cross those things, we're making 4 predictions of what's going to come out with it. Today we're going to talk about that not all traits are dominant and recessive like that, but there might be a prediction. The other thing I should probably point out, guys, is it's not like if these two, mom and dad here, had 4 kids, they would come out perfect. One would have purebred dominant rough fur, 2 would be the hybrids with rough fur, and 1 would be the purebred recessive with smooth fur. If you want to think about it this way, guys, it's kind of like the same thing with boys and girls and having a boy and girl. If the first one's a boy, it doesn't guarantee the second one's a girl. I have 4 daughters in my family, right? And so you might have children, and then you have the 1 in 4 chance it's this, but every time it might choose to be this. These are just the 4 possible ways the genetics can cross. Okay, today we're moving on with what we call shared dominance. It says this: not all gene pairs follow the dominant recessive pattern. Some traits, such as the colors of the Emmernot chicken pictured below, show both versions of a gene at work. Okay, so you got the word, they show both versions. The chicken has genes for both black and white feathers, but neither color is dominant. Instead, the colors share their dominance. So you can see how they have white and black feathers in the chicken. As you can see in the diagram, the Emmernot chicken is produced by a parent with white feathers and a parent with black feathers. The diagram is called a Punnett square. Guys, it's what we worked yesterday when we did those 4 examples on the board. It is used to show all the possible offspring with a particular trait that can result when 2 individuals mate. In this Punnett square, one parent chicken was purebred for black feathers. See how their purebred letters are the same, which is represented by 2 genes for black feathers, lowercase b and lowercase b. The other parent was purebred white feathers, WW. The possible offspring from these 2 parents would all be hybrids. Each would have 1 gene for white feathers and 1 for black feathers, which would be the B and the W. Offspring with these 2 versions of the gene would have both black and white feathers like the Emmernot chicken. So guys, back over here to your notes, I just put some things in. Note the difference between yesterday and today. When we working with today and we have shared dominance, we're using different letters and they're both lowercase. So yesterday we were working in your book with R and R and on the board with B and B. Today we said, hey, black, lowercase b, W. We didn't make it capital. That would give you the impression it dominates. Okay, so we'd use different letters to do those things. We're still going to use a Punnett square to cross the parents. Everything is the same as what we did yesterday, except once I get to my hybrids, I need to be able to translate and say this is shared dominance. So it's literally black and white together, which we call an Emmernot chicken. Now they say, what would happen if 2 Emmernot chickens mated and produced offspring? So guys, if we're going with yesterday, we had purebred dominant, purebred recessive, produced 4 hybrids. Now we're going to cross those 4 hybrids, just like we did yesterday, and we're going to get the B and the B go together, so you're back to an all black feathered chicken. We have W down and B across, Emmernot, B down, W across, Emmernot, and W down, W across, and you would have the white feathered chicken. So guys, it's identical to this one. When we crossed one of each and one of each, you got one with 2 letters, the other kind of 2 letters, and 2 hybrids. That's how we used it yesterday. It's the same thing in the shared dominance. So there was an example in the animal kingdom of sharing dominance. Now they'll give you an example in the plant kingdom. Now look at the Punnett square for colors in the 4 o'clock plants. One parent had red, the other had white. One would expect the offspring to have red or white flowers, but in this case, neither color is present in the offspring. Instead of red or white, the offsprings are pink. They do not follow the dominant recessive pattern. With some traits, such as the color of the 4 o'clock plants, the effects of the 2 genes appear to blend. So in 4 o'clock flower, the 2 traits blend red and white produces us a pink. That's kind of fun. The red 4 o'clock parent and the white 4 o'clock parent produce pink offspring, a blending of the red and white colors of the parent plant. But what would happen if we take the pink offsprings as they produce? As you can see, the possibilities could be red, white, or pink. Look at the second Punnett square to see how that could happen. So guys, they're identical. I got 2 reds, I got 2 whites. We put them together, red, white, red, white, red, white, red, white. Those blend to make all pinks. Now we take those letters just like we did down here, split them apart. You take the 2 R's, put them together, you're back to a red flower. Take a white and a red, you got a pink flower. Take a red and a white, you got a pink flower. Take the white and the white, and you're back to a white flower. And so just the interesting things, guys. The Punnett squares are the same from yesterday and today. You just have to be able to interpret them depending on if they dominate and recessive from yesterday, share dominance from part A today, or blend dominance from B. Okay, that was cool in the flowers. What happens in humans? You can see a similar example in humans. A child of a straight-haired parent and a curly-haired parent would have wavy hair. 2 parents with wavy hair could then produce a child that would have wavy hair, or back to straight hair, or back to curly hair, depending on how those works. So guys, human traits have a lot of examples of where we blend things together, or it's not this. Some of that's the way we get different hair colors. You think about different eye colors. I know yesterday we talked about brown and blue guys, but there's obviously more colors about this. You think about the human skin color is more of a blending between the 2 parents. So you have those things happening in humans as well. And we finish up kind of where we started this chapter, talk about the importance of selective breeding. The familiar ear of corn shown to the left is probably not much like the wild ancestor. Around 8,000 to 10,000 years ago, people in what is now Mexico began to change a grass-like plant that they had been gathered in nature for food. That was called maize back in the day. They did this by choosing and planting seeds from plants that had traits they liked. When the new plant produced seeds, the people again chose the best seeds. This process continued for many generations of plants. Over time, a plant that served as a better food resulted. An early version of the corn we eat today, selecting a few organisms with desired traits to serve as a parent for the offspring, is called selective breeding. Okay, so selecting a few organisms with desired traits is called selective breeding. 7 is very important, guys. This takes many generations to get the desired results. So it's not like, hey, I'm going to plant the corn to be really tall, and then by the next season I have only tall corn plants. It takes generation after generation after generation. It can take tens to hundreds of years until we get what we want every single time. All right, let's talk about why we do selective breeding. People around the world use selective breeding to produce plants and animals with the traits that are valuable to humans. Cows have not always produced as much milk as they do now. In the early 1800s, most dairy cows made only about 1,500 liters of milk a year. Today, some kinds of cows can make as many as 10,000 liters a year. So you can just see the amount of increase, guys. That's more than 6 times the amount. It's almost 7 times the amount. Now think of that as a farmer. I've all of a sudden getting paid 7 times the amount. That's why we do selective breeding. Other kinds produce milk that has certain traits, such as a high amount of fat. How did these changes happen? The traits were produced through selective breeding and better nutrition. So guys, selective breeding is one thing. We all obviously also have learned how to feed cows better that go along with that. Selective breeding also helps produce crops with more food per plant. Many varieties of fruits and vegetables are bred to resist disease, insect pests, and drought. People have raised chickens to lay more eggs. Selective breeding has been used to produce dogs that are smarter, stronger, healthier, friendlier. Okay, over here, selective breeding helps produce 1 more food, 2 more varieties. You think about going into the supermarket today and buying apples. You want them crispy or a little bit mushy. You want them sweet, you want them sour. You want them red, you want them green. I mean, just think about all the varieties we have, guys, that we've learned to enjoy. Okay, obviously resist disease insects and things that go along with that, and then any other desired traits that you can have. Stronger, smarter, all those things that go along with it. Guys, this is big in the farming business as far as more crops and then better things. When I was a teacher down in Texas, I once went to the state fair, and a guy bid $100,000 for a cow. Now, part of that was charity, guys, but the other part of that was people pay literally hundreds of thousands of dollars for a cow because of how big and muscular he is. Then he's going to take that cow back to his farm, and he's going to have that cow mate with every other female cow in the hopes of the offspring will be really big. We have an example of selective breeding in the Bible. When Jacob was to Esau and he was raising them, he got the striped animals once, or the spotted animals, or the no spotted animals, and he kept trying to figure out how to get the offspring to produce what Laban, I think I said Esau, what Laban said he could keep, and so it went back and forth. Okay. They mentioned the dogs here. We'll get a paragraph on the dogs back over here. Today's dogs come in many shapes and sizes, from the tiny Chihuahua to the large Saint Bernard, but they are also some of the human's oldest friends. Ancient clues in cave paintings and burials reveal that dogs and people have lived together for thousands of years. Dogs of many sizes and shapes appear in the archaeological records of almost all human cultures from thousands of years ago. Selected for hunting, herding, protection, companionship, looks, dogs were welcomed into many homes. Over the years, people have used selective breeding to produce the characteristics they choose. Most of today's almost 400 different dog breeds were produced in the last 170 years, guys. And so they give you some examples of the different dog breeds out there and what they're good for. You know, do I want a big dog for what he's used for, a small dog so I can carry it around kind of thing. We have all those things that you and I take selective breeding for granted. It's awesome. I love eating watermelon that is seedless, right? And so you're so used to seedless watermelon in the supermarket that when you grow your own and they have those big black seeds and you're like, ugh, this is not fun to eat. I like the seedless ones. Selective breeding, guys, and genetic engineering that is happening. Let's get the famous guy from history. In the history of selective breeding, perhaps no one has been more successful than Luther Burbank, who was born in Massachusetts in 1849. Burbank developed more than 800 varieties of plants. You may have eaten some of the new varieties of plums, pineapples, walnuts, and almonds that he developed. One of Burbank's most important successes was the development of what we call the Burbank potato. So you can include the word potato here. At the time, the potato was an important food for many people in Ireland. When a disease called potato blight killed potato crops in Ireland for several years, these people did not have enough food to eat. Eventually, as many as 1 million people in Ireland died from starvation because of this potato disease. The Burbank potato was resistant to potato blight, so it goes over here, guys, about how it can resist diseases. It was then shipped to Ireland, and they planted it in the place of their other potatoes that were diseased, and the potato helped prevent even more deaths. And so you have the potato that could resist potato blight that had killed about 1 million people in Ireland. I'm part Irish. My mom's side was Irish. They came to America, guys, because of this. The potato famine hit. They were run out of food, so they had enough money to buy a ticket across the ocean and start their life over. Not everybody did that. Most of them were stuck where they were as poor farmers, and it cost them their lives. So you can see selective breeding and how we use it today is an example in history of saving millions of lives and how important it is. All right, another good example of trying to use those Punnett squares. Hopefully you have it down. We got another day of practicing it tomorrow before you get your big test on Friday. Blessings on your worksheet.